Hello, welcome to my bedroom floor. I'm sure you're all wondering why I didn't call you here today, because I don't know who to call. So I'm just putting this video up blindly and thinking maybe it will interest someone, and if not, oh well, this is making me happy. If you read the title, you'll know that I'm making my own 17 advent calendar today. In preparation for that, I've bought a bunch of 17 albums. And the idea is that every day in December up to Christmas Eve, I will be unboxing a 17 album or something 17 related. It will mostly be albums, but oh, there, you can see my knees now. It will mostly be albums, but there are a couple of other things just because, oh goodness, it was expensive to buy this many albums. Now, what we have here today is not all of the albums that I'm going to be unboxing. There's still a few in the mail, and actually I'm going to have to order a couple of more to make the full 24 days of a traditional advent calendar. So this isn't all that I'm going to be unboxing, but I guess I can start with the story maybe of why I decided to do this. While I start wrapping at least some of the albums. So let's get started. We'll start with, I guess, wrapping, the OG. Of course, this is a reprint. But as I get started wrapping with that, I will start talking about why I chose to do this. Okay, the rules are that you're not allowed to judge me on my subpar gift wrapping skills. Okay, so why am I doing this? And I mean, there's so many places I could start. I could start with why I started, how I got into 17, but I think I'm going to start instead with why I decided to do this advent calendar. And, there was a lot of buildup. Well, not really. Essentially, I've known for a while that I wanted to do an advent calendar this year. Not a 17 one specifically, but over the past several years, I've really enjoyed watching people do advent calendar or just like unboxings in general. So I've been watching a lot of Alexandria Ryan and things like that. And I just thought, oh, it's so fun. And normally I'm a pretty frugal person. I don't spend a lot of money. So if I'm going to do something that seems like it's going to be fairly expensive, I spend a lot of time thinking about it. So I got the idea in my head probably several months ago that, I really want to do something fun, like an advent calendar this season. But as I started looking into it, there weren't really any that caught my eye. So like the standards of like makeup and skincare, that kind of stuff I generally want to pick out on my own. I don't want an advent calendar to be doing my choosing. Plus, if you've been watching makeup and beauty advent calendar unboxings, all the time it's not a very good value, and especially since a lot of it is not things that I would wear or use, it's just like I couldn't get past that with my frugal mindset. Food advent calendars, like I like food, but not enough to justify spending a lot on, a somewhat luxurious advent calendar. So, it was something that I had in my mind, but I wasn't finding anything that I was willing to spend the money on. So fast forward to 17th Heaven's release, and I was in Target. I actually went to Target to buy Taylor Swift's, the Taylor's version of 1989. And so I went in to buy that, and for a little bit of backstory about my involvement with 17, I got into 17 around teenage era, so like late 2017, and I'll talk a bit more about it probably in a different video if I continue to do these. One second, let me prepare to wrap another one. Okay, so I'm back. Where was I? So I became a carrot around late 2017, around the clap era. And so I'd been a fan of 17 for a while, but I've pretty much only bought digital albums for lots of reasons. First, because, you know, the physical albums were expensive, and as I said earlier, I'm generally a pretty frugal person. So the physical albums were expensive, and at that time, I didn't live anywhere near like a K-pop store or anything, and the only way that I knew how to get my hands on like on a physical album would have been through like group orders. And because I wasn't familiar with like all of the sites where you could buy them, and didn't want to put in the effort to figure out what was a trustworthy site, and didn't really know how to do group orders because I'm not really active on Twitter or anything anyway. So for a long time it was just because, you know, getting a physical album would be hard. And then when it started becoming easier to get the albums in the US, you know, by then I was just kind of in the habit of buying things digitally for 17, because I've always I've always been somebody that does like owning my music, and I like having the physical albums for artists that I really want to support. But for whatever reason, I wasn't doing that for 17. Anyway, so fast forward back to Target, and, you know, I was in Target, and I don't know exactly what came over me exactly, but I was like, you know what? If I'm willing to support Taylor Swift monetarily by buying, you know, her re-recordings of her version, why am I not buying 17, who I also really want to support? Probably I want to support them more than Taylor Swift, quite frankly. So kind of on an impulse, I also bought 17th Heaven because, you know, 1989 Taylor's version and 17th Heaven were released fairly close to each other, like a week or so apart. So on impulse, I bought 17th Heaven, and I was so excited because, you know, I've always been tempted to buy their physical albums, but like I said, I was out of the habit, and they seemed so pricey because I could buy, you know, the, like, for a mini album, I could buy the mini album, a digital version of the mini album for like, I don't know, like under $10, most of them. And the physical albums were, you know, 20, 25, 30. So it just didn't make much sense, especially since I'm not really a photo card collector. But I bought 17th Heaven on impulse. I went into my car, and I could not wait to open it. So I like opened this album in my car, and just getting the random exclusions. It was super fun. And I got my bias on a photo card. I got a Wuji photo card, and I just like, this is so fun. I should, you know, I wanted to go buy a bunch more albums immediately. Which I didn't buy a bunch more albums. I bought the one I'm wrapping. I bought Always Yours on Amazon like that same night because I just thought it was so fun, and it also had only recently come out. And sometime between when Always Yours was delivered to me, I somehow connected the dots that, you know, it was so fun to unbox these. Like, it was so fun to open 17th Heaven, and I was so excited with the inclusions and everything. And it just clicked. I was like, you know, I've wanted like an advent calendar type thing. And I had so much fun opening this album, and I was so excited about it. And I was showing off the photo cards to like my family, who thought I was crazy because I've never really been much of a fangirl. So I considered myself a carrot and everything, but I'd never really acted super fangirly until that moment. Like, I'd done a few things. Like, I'd gone to, you know, my family knew I was a fan of 17. They knew that I'd gone to the 17 concert last year, and I'd knit a sweater to wear and bought a carrot bong. But the album was the first time where I was just like so excited, to the point where I could tell they were all just humoring me with, you know, okay, we'll listen to this again. So I thought, okay, if I'm this excited about something, maybe I should just buy a bunch of albums and open those as my advent calendar. So that's exactly what I did. And at first it was going to be just a 12-day advent calendar. And then my mom actually, because when I finally told my family what I was doing, my mom was like, oh, it's only 12 days. What are you going to do for the other 12? And I was like, well, I was just going to do a 12-day advent calendar, you know, because most advent calendars are either 24 or 12 for the 12 days of Christmas. And I just figured, oh, I'll just do a 12-day one. But my mom unintentionally convinced me to spend even more money and do a 24-day advent calendar. So that brings us to today. As I mentioned, I have a bunch of the albums that I'm going to be unboxing throughout, you know, this holiday season and month. But there's still some that are in the mail since I decided after I'd ordered, you know, enough to do a 12-day advent calendar, I decided to add another 12 days on there. So some of them are still in the mail. But now today's the 28th, and I know if I don't start, you know, maybe I don't have to wrap them, everything, but I think that would be more fun. I don't know. It's a kind of weird idea. So now I'm wrapping them. This one's almost done, so I'm going to pause, probably switch the type of paper I'm doing, and wrap a few more. Okay, so I've talked to you a little bit about why I decided to make that calendar, but how did I decide what to include? And this was the hard part, because obviously with all of their releases and their multitudes of versions, I knew that there was no, like, I knew that I couldn't buy every single version of every single album. Number one, that would be too many for an advent calendar. Number two, you know, I wanted to treat myself to something nice, and I, you know, kind of, I mean, I wanted to buy myself a luxury advent calendar, and that's how I got myself into this. But I am not made completely of money. Like, I'm not a rich person. I have a very average to low paying job. So I wasn't made out of money. Plus, I don't really consider myself much of a collector anyway. So I didn't want to buy a bunch of things that I was later going to be like, I don't want all this. So I was thinking about, you know, it was fun to open it, but what about the albums is it that I would like to have? So for me, it ultimately came down to photo books. You know, the photo cards are fun, but I think once the excitement from this dies down, I won't really care about collecting photo cards and things like that. But photo books, I love looking through photos and looking at pretty things and pictures. So I ultimately decided I wanted to buy as many albums, like as many individual albums as I could. And I would choose the versions that I bought based on the photo books. So I started watching a lot of album unboxings to determine which photo books I was going to, like, which albums I would buy and which versions based on the photo books. And actually, that was, it helped at first when I was only going to buy 12 for, you know, my 12-day advent calendar. You know, I could be really picky, and it was like, you can choose like your favorite one. And there are a few exceptions. So actually for the You Make My Dawn album, I watched so many unboxings and I could not decide between the photo books. Plus, I love how You Make My Dawn and You Make My Day, I love how their spines all match up. So, like, for instance, that was the first album where I was just like, okay, I'm going to buy multiple versions. I'm going to buy all the versions of You Make My Dawn, of You Make My Day, because I loved all the photo books, and I was like, there's no way I can make a decision between these photo books. And then I only bought one version of You Make My Dawn, which I'm kind of regretting now because I won't have the full spine, but I think For the versions that I didn't choose, I think I'm going to have to give myself a cool down period after I open this thing. And then if there's still versions of albums I want to buy, then I can think about it. I feel so fortunate that Pledis finally re-released all of their older albums, because honestly, I love the older album photo books. I love the older albums packaging. So on my first go around, I bought a lot of, you know, their older re-release things, because that's kind of when I got into them, was more on their early side, right? I got into them around teenage era, and that's when I fell in love with them. I fell in love with them for Fresh Teen, and you know, they've had their ups and downs, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of their more recent releases I didn't love as much. So I was actually really excited for God of Music, because it was the first time in a while that I really felt like they were releasing a Fresh Teen title track. I mean, World was pretty close, but anyway, so when I was buying albums, my first 13-day calendar was very heavily early 17, and I bought a lot of their re-releases. And then when I decided to expand to 24 days, to 24-day advent calendar, then I went back and I reordered some of their newer things. Like I already had a 17th Heaven, of course, and I went ahead and ordered like Your Choice. I also, one of the reasons I was like staying away from some of the newer releases is, you know, they had that little time period where they were releasing so many like random photo books, and you know, I wanted OT3 photo books, and I didn't. So if I was only going to buy 12, I was going to prioritize the photo books that were OT13, right? Okay. Yes. So where did I put my tape? Apparently I can't. Here it is. Okay, found the tape. Yeah, so then when I switched to 24 days, I said, okay, I've chosen my absolute favorite 12 already, so I'll go ahead and just, you know, fill in with, make sure I have one version of each album. And that still left me a few days. So there's actually going to be a couple of days that are albums, and I'm not going to tell you what those are yet. So you'll be surprised, even if I'm not surprised. You'll be surprised about what the days that aren't albums are. But I still had to, and I did that partly to save a little bit of money, and partly because I had some other things I wanted to buy that were 17 related, and then suddenly I was buying all the 17 stuff. So I bought one version of every Korean release. I didn't buy every Japanese release. The only Japanese release I'll be opening is Always Yours, because to be honest, I don't love all of the Japanese releases. I mean, they're all good, obviously, but I think Call 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 was one of their first comebacks that I was an active carrot for. And I love Call Call Call. It's so much up my alley. I love the, you know, J-rock vibes. And so when they started releasing the other ones, I wouldn't say I was disappointed exactly, but because I had loved Call 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 so much, and that they kind of they weren't releasing more upbeat rock inspired things, which I love. I love 17's rock inspired songs, even Boom Boom. I know Boom Boom gets a lot of hate, but when I first got into 17, you know, I think I don't even think Clap had been released yet when I first got into them. I think I think I came in when they were doing the unit releases right before Clap. And so when I first got into them, Boom Boom was actually one of my favorites because I am such a I'm not really a rock girly. I like soft rock, but I really appreciated their more rock releases. So I love Boom Boom. I love Clap. So I wasn't really super into buying their Japanese releases, especially because Japanese albums are so expensive. So I just bought Always Yours because it does have all of their Japanese releases, and I thought, okay, I can get all of the Japanese releases at the same time, and that seemed great, and it seemed a good compromise since I have to draw the line somewhere, and I'm part of me in general, I'm not a huge like completionist. So obviously I'd never felt the need to collect 17 until now. And like their physical releases. For a long time it was just enough for me to enjoy their music and like their videos and, you know, checking on Weverse every once in a while. For a long time that was plenty enough because I'm not in general a big physical collector. So you know, after watching all of the unboxing and things, when I was trying to decide which albums to buy and which versions to buy, that was part of me right now wants to go buy every version of most of their albums. Not every version of every album, but like, especially their older releases. I just want to buy all of them. So I've told myself I have to have a cool down period. And then if I still want them, I know it'll probably be harder because I don't know if they're re-releases, some of their re-releases are selling out again. So part of me is like, if I don't buy them now, but I also think after the cool down, I don't really care about the inclusions very much. I can just buy some of them without inclusions for a little bit less. Because some of the albums that I did buy for this, I did buy on like Mercari. I think I bought one on eBay. And some of them are unopened, but some of them are opened. Okay, I apologize. I know this has been very chaotic. This has been a very chaotic video. And I, again, no longer know where I was. Some of their more recent releases that I'm planning on unboxing are still in the mail. I know I'm still waiting for like FML. I bought a carrot version of FML2 because I thought, I mean, look how adorable this is. I love this packaging. And so although I didn't really want to buy carrot versions because I love the idea of OT13, this was just too adorable and I could not buy it. But I'm waiting on the on a regular version of FML. I'm waiting on I'm waiting on Face the Sun and a couple of other, well, a few others. And I guess I did say I tried to get a copy of every album, but I should mention that I kind of considered repackages as the original. So I bought, I mean, and I guess didn't have repackage, but I didn't buy Sector 17. And I didn't buy Director's Cut. I thought about it because I do kind of like their photo books, but you know, like I said, I have to draw the line somewhere, and this was a 24-day advent calendar, so I didn't buy Director's Cut. That's one of the ones where after my cool down period, maybe I can buy it, just like the other two versions of You Made My Dawn. Yeah, You Made My Dawn. And I kind of want to buy more versions of AL1, is that how you say it? Do you say it AL1 or All One or Alone? I don't know. I mean, I know those are the versions. I guess AL1. I might want to buy at least one more version of AL1, and I kind of want to buy another version of Going 17. But again, cool down period. I need to have a cool down period first. So that's really all I have to say and talk about. So maybe I will just finish wrapping up what I have on camera, off camera, because I've only been doing a part. See, this is the problem with wrapping things on the floor. I don't know if you can see it, but I have hairs all over everything. Anyway, so I'll finish wrapping and then come back to wrap up. Okay, so that's, I think, 16 out of 24 wrapped. And that's about as far as I've gone. I haven't decided, how to know what to unwrap. I mean, what I want to do, and this might sound really, really silly, kind of what I want to do is, oops, you don't need to see my tripod, not tripod. My precarious situation with my phone is, it's failing at this point, so I'll hurry. But I think what I kind of want to do is to just number each of these kind of at random, and then every day pick a number, not necessarily go in order of the numbers. I know which album I want to open last, so maybe make sure that's number 25, but think now that they're all wrapped, I don't know which version. I think I could tell from like their size what album it is, but I have no way for the things that I bought multiple versions of. I have no way of knowing, so maybe it can be a bit of a surprise every day when I open if I number them and draw a number, but I'll figure that out. I have a couple of days to figure that out, but I knew that if I waited until December 1st to wrap all of them, or November 30th to wrap all of them, I would never get it done. So if you sat through this whole video, you are truly a champ. And I hope it was at least a little bit entertaining to listen to me word vomit about 17. One of the reasons I decided to film this is because my family, I could tell, were already humoring me just about the 17th Heaven album and the idea that I had of doing this advent calendar. So maybe if I record them and put them up somewhere, I'll get the excited rambling fangirling out of the way, and maybe people who want to hear that can watch my videos. And if that is something that you're interested in, probably none of the other videos will be this long. They'll just be short, opening and unboxing one album at a time and seeing the inclusions. But if you're interested in that, maybe subscribe. If not, well, I don't know why you watch this whole video. But yeah, I guess I will see you next time, assuming I actually upload this in the first place. So, bye.